Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear him, Dr. Dan?
It says you are live, and I hear you, but I'm not hearing Troy.
Hey, Shawn, you can hear me?
We're live. Well, Troy, we can't hear. He can't hear you. I can.
All right. Hey, Shawn, let's do this. Hey, guys, I want to welcome each and every one of you guys to my Facebook Live. Today, I actually got hold on just a minute.
Me as host.
I actually today I got Dr. Dan and I got Shawn McAnalley on the call today. And we actually going to talk about
fourth picture down in the left-hand corner that says host. I don't know what to do about being host.
Hold on just for a minute.
Once again, where's the 7-year-old when you need one?
For real, right? Well, we are live, though. We live right now, Shawn, on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live. Hey, Shawn, do this. Bring Dr. Dan on. Introduce him, and then I just introduced you. You know, I got my friend Shawn McAnalley on here today. I got Dr. Dan on there.
Able to hear me?
It's showing
time. Dr. Dan, we'll go ahead and get started, brother. I'm going to introduce you guys. We got Dr. Dan today live with Troy, and Dr. Dan's going to go over some things that we can do to boost our immune system during this time that we're having right now. This pandemic, if you will. And Dr. Dan is an expert. He researches constantly. Very, very intelligent person. Very intelligent. I have a lot of respect for him. A lot of other people do. And he's going to share with us today what we can do to boost our immune system to make sure that we're as strong as we can be in the times we're in right now. Dr. Dan, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity. Sorry for the technological difficulties. Like I said, there's never a 7-year-old around when you could use one. At any rate, we definitely have some major issues going on in the country and the world. Interestingly enough, while this has gotten our attention, the COVID-19 and the SARS-CoV-2 virus, specifically, in general, there's a whole lot of other things that are even more significant in one sense of the word. I mean, the regular flu takes a far greater toll on children, at least, than it certainly does on as far as the COVID-19. So what we want to be looking at is multiple factors. I mean, obviously, there's the external things that we can do, like wearing a mask if you choose to do that, as well as doing things like washing hands and all the rest. People are totally familiar with that. The interesting thing, and what is really showing up a ton of research now on the internet, is around the world, I do mean literally around the world, there is a major movement, not only in trying to develop vaccines and or antiviral drugs to try to combat things, but they're looking at the nature of the beast, the virus itself, and it happens to be an envelope virus, as it's called, because it has a lipoprotein coating around it, kind of a protective thing. But at any rate, the envelope viruses all behave very similar. So everything from HIV to SARS-CoV and SARS-CoV-2, the MERS, hepatitis, just a whole array of different viruses that have the same things that they have to do, that they have to accomplish in order to cause a problem for us. For them, it's just replicating and continuing on. For us, it's obviously a significant problem. So based on what a lot of information that we have from before, and now looking at applying some of that knowledge, and in particular, looking at what are the different aspects of how the virus tries to invade the body, what is the principles, what are the different things that the virus has to do. And so, number one, it has to invade, which means it's got to get past the mucous membrane barrier in the mouth. This particular virus targets very specific cells and very specific receptor sites. Well, that's good in the sense that if we can help support the body to combat against that, that's obviously going to be a good thing. So maintaining the mucous membrane barrier, once it gets into the mouth, into the respiratory tract, into the intestinal tract as far as that goes, because its 4 target cells in particular for this SARS-CoV-2 virus happen to be lung cells, heart cells, kidney cells, and the intestine cells. It can attach to any of those and start causing problems. But that's where the key comes in. The body is doing all kinds of things trying to prevent that from occurring. I mean, God knew that we were going to be challenged by all this stuff. Literally created the body and gave it great protective capability. However, in order to do that, turns out there are certain specific nutrients that seem to be more beneficial at helping the body to accomplish the task. And so that's what's going on worldwide, looking at dozens of different plants and plant ingredients, plant components that can kind of interfere or intervene at the various sites as we go along. And so, with what we're talking about doing, initially the bacteria has to get in, and so it has to get through the membrane, mucous membrane barrier. Maintaining that intact, helping to keep it healthy, is going to be extremely important. There's some things that have definitely been proven to do that, and from the aloe plant, from turmeric, from a number of different plants. Turns out that we give the body certain nutrient tools, in effect, that it can use to help prevent those kind of things from occurring. It helps maintain the integrity of that barrier so the bacteria, or the virus in this case, can't get down any further than that anyway. However, once it does happen to get past the membrane barrier, if it does, then its next goal is to try to attach to one of our cells of those four that I just mentioned. We'll stick with lung cell because it's close and easy. Lung cell has a certain receptor on it. Well, we often say that I caught a cold or I caught the flu, when in reality, the virus caught us, and I mean quite literally caught us. It has to attach to the cell surface receptor in order to gain access into or get inside our cells. If it's floating around, it's not going to hurt us. So, in effect, if it can't catch you, it can't hurt you. There's, again, multiple different things that, from a perspective at looking at the medical literature, not only for other envelope viruses, but specifically now looking at things like the SARS-CoV-2, they're finding that certain plants, again, going back to things like turmeric and milk thistle, certain of the components in milk thistle can help competitively bind to that same receptor and block the virus from being able to attach. Along with that is green tea, the EGCG, and quite a number of other ones. If we try to go through the whole list, we'd be here a while. But at any rate, so because they competitively bind to the same receptor, it can't catch us. If it can't catch you, it can't hurt you. Next thing, however, if some of those viruses do
Dr.
attach,
Dan?
and yes.
I have a question. I just want to make sure I understand this right, because you're obviously very highly educated. But so basically, our first line of defense is the mucous membrane, like you said. And there are plants out there that you've mentioned that will help our body to keep that mucous membrane strong to try and keep the COVID out to begin with. And
Correct.
Then if it makes it past that mucous membrane, per se the lungs, like you say, there are other nutrients from other plants, like you mentioned, that will help, that will get on that receptor site instead of that virus to kind of keep it from getting in our body in the first place. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead, sir. I just want to make sure I understood.
Okay. So here's the thing. The virus has to go through a number of different steps in order for it to catch us, to get inside the cell, to do its replication thing, and all of that. The body is already designed to resist that. I mean, we are exposed to tens of thousands, if not billions, of different viruses, bacteria, fungi, and all kinds of stuff every day. The body has to fight all that stuff every day. As I said, the COVID-19 has gotten our attention, but certainly hasn't even been one of the worst things that, however, it doesn't always have the specific nutrients that allow it to accomplish what it's programmed to do in the first place. So it's not that the body gets stupid, forget how to work, and we get in trouble. It's simply that it just doesn't necessarily have what it requires to do all the things it's programmed to do. So if we go down to the next step, if that cell, or if your cell is caught in effect by the virus, then that virus is going to literally go inside the cell. Well, remember I said it was an envelope virus? Turns out that envelope is around the membrane of the virus itself. Now that membrane has to fuse to the membrane inside your particular cell, or that lung cell. And when it fuses, well, it's called membrane fusion. That step is what allows the virus to release its RNA, in effect, its genetic coding. And that genetic coding then is going to go into uh, the DNA, be transcribed, translated, and the blueprints to make more viruses are there. The body didn't want that to happen either. So again, utilizing specific nutrients, in this case, it can be everything from allopolysaccharides, or ACE mannan, again, the turmeric, the milk thistle, the EGCG in particular, different ones from the green tea, have the ability to block membrane fusion. Well, if it can't fuse, it can't release the RNA. If it can't release RNA, it can't replicate, which means you might have one virus in the cell, but it can't do anything. So again, it's about keeping the body, giving it what it requires to get the job done. So if we go from there, the next step would be that the transcription, as it's called, and then translation. So in effect, we're taking over the software of the lung cell, and we're forcing it to insert blueprints to build viruses. Well, obviously, we don't want that. If it can't replicate, it can't hurt you either. And so there's different ways. And again, there's a whole array of different plants that come into the picture here. Many of which are available from a nutrition or nutrient supplement standpoint, which is going to give the body more concentrated amounts of these different things to do its job. If it happens to get all the way past the, if we don't stop it at that particular point, then the blueprints for the virus is sent into the machinery, the manufacturing machinery inside the lung cell. At that particular point, it's going to start doing its thing where it's actually producing, and this is kind of interesting, it doesn't produce the entire virus. It literally builds parts to the virus, and those parts are going to be assembled at a different point. Well, okay, we certainly didn't want those parts to be produced, and fortunately, there's ways to block it at that particular point as well. Again, mainly the nutrients we've been talking about. But as we continue to go on, if those parts can't be assembled into the new virions, then they can't hurt you either. And so they may be there, but it's not a complete virus until it's assembled. Again, body uses different nutrients to help combat against that. I mean, we'd all be sick and gone if it didn't have this kind of capability. The next step, though, is once they're assembled, if they happen to, if we couldn't block that stage, well, you've got a whole bunch of brand new cells, or brand new viruses, rather, inside the cell. Their goal is to escape from that lung cell so they can go out and attack the surrounding cells and then just continue on. And the infection gets worse, and the virus is happy, and we're unhappy. Turns out there's specific enzymes that are involved in the release of those viruses. And again, those enzymes can be blocked by certain plant nutrients. And in particular, curcumin happens to work very nicely with that one. When I say curcumin, I'm talking about the active component in the turmeric. So I'll try to remember not to just say curcumin. But that is one especially that in just the last week, there's been half a dozen new studies that have just been published looking at the ability of, in particular, turmeric and curcumin to be able to block almost every phase of what that virus is trying to do. But then again, there's other things that are incredibly powerful as well. And in particular, things like allopolysaccharides, if we were talking about the normal regular flu that occurs every year and kills a whole bundle of people, it is very effective against that. I mean, really effective. Some pretty outstanding studies on that part of it. So all in all, obviously, we want the body to be able to accomplish that task. The interesting thing here is that if we look at the body in general, forget about the virus for just a moment, because hopefully the body is going to get the job done and taking care of it. But we know that one of the risk factors for having the risk of dying literally from COVID-19, a lot of people have it and don't even know they ever had it. They don't have any symptoms. But for some people, if they have immune compromise, if at the same time they may have other health challenges going on, As it turns out, the body is quite adaptable to utilizing many of these, in effect, medicinal herbs and plants that grow around the world to be able to help support and help make more normal, you might say, the different things that are going wrong. So, if, for instance, diabetes was a problem, well, that diabetes would definitely be something that is going to make you more at risk. So, at the same time, we'd be doing something to help build up our immune system. We're also going to be supplying the body with nutrients that it also uses in a whole lot of different ways because it's working on various very complex biochemical pathways, but the pathways are already programmed in. The body knows what to do. There's a lot of things that mess up those biochemical pathways, and too much or too little, and disease and a whole bunch of other health issues can go on. The nice thing is that what we're doing in this particular instance that is going to benefit the body as far as the um, immune system itself to be resistant to and be able to fight more effectively something like the COVID-19. We're also going to be giving it what it needs to help balance, regulate these different pathways, as well as, in a sense, uh, well, it just helps to establish more normal. It gets it back to working the way that it should be. All of which is good because if we can protect against the virus at the same time we're helping the body to overcome some of its other health issues, well, that's going to be extremely beneficial. And I mean, realistically, it's scary thinking about the virus, but compared to cardiovascular disease, the number one killer, compared to cancer, the number two killer, compared to diabetes and a whole host of other things that people are afflicted by, a lot more deaths are going to occur from that than ever will from COVID-19. And so the side benefit is that when we use these types of nutrients, the only side effects that occur are beneficial things for another part of the body, another system of the body. And so it's been something that's pretty exciting to see from my standpoint because, one, you're correct, I do look at these kind of things. But what's really exciting is, well, at least everywhere, but in the US, realistically, from where the studies are coming from, literally the rest of the world is looking into a whole lot of different plants, different plant components, different natural ways, in effect, to give the body the resources, the tools to combat against a whole lot of different things. So that would be my suggestion is that people that have questions, if you get back with Troy, uh, that would be a great thing to do as far as helping to find out some different ways to do it. Now, well, just one more thing, and then I'll turn it back over. One of the challenges that we face, in spite of all of these fabulous studies coming from around the world, is that you can identify a plant or a plant component that can be very powerful in assisting, supporting the body to do the job it's supposed to be doing. The challenge then is when you go into the marketplace, and we're talking last year was about $47 billion in the US. We have to also remember that not all of those, the plants may be created equal, but the net result of how those plants are processed and everything else is a big issue. And unfortunately, some of the plants, because of the contamination of the soil, they are a challenge in and of themselves simply because we're looking at contamination from a lot of different chemicals that get into the soil. And so everything from arsenic and lead and mercury, cadmium, a whole array of different things like that. And so, yes, you can easily get a lot of these different plants or plant components. Go to the health food store, they're there. The challenge is the quality of those. When we look at things like consumer labs, when they're testing some of those different things I just mentioned, some of those different plants, they're coming on saying that, well, basically with the curcumin, 31% of them fail the testing of whether they would actually be effective or not. Not because it's the plant, but because of the way the plant was processed. You can do it, make things real cheap, or more expensive process is going to be more expensive, but the result is what you're after. Similarly, things like milk thistle, which is fabulously powerful for a whole lot of different things, and the different components in it, cyanomarin, silibin, silibinin, that kind of thing, 80% of those were found to be lacking as far as the ability of them to do what we've heard the testing, but if you don't have the integrity of the product itself, that is a huge issue. And so getting it from a reliable source, that's the other thing that you can talk to Troy about, because he is well up and well versed on that kind of information. Okay, back
Thank
to
you,
you.
Dr. Dan. All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, guys, speaking of communicating
Shawn,
and things like that, we've had a little bit of technical difficulties here.
Can you hear me?
I'm kind of relaying to Troy because Troy couldn't hear Dan and vice versa or something like that. So, Troy, did you have any questions for Dr. Dan?
Hey, Shawn, can you hear me?
Yeah,
can you hear me, Shawn? Oh,
yes,
okay.
Sir.
Well, guys, I had Dr. Dan on here today and talked about, some, 100% plant-based products, supplements that help actually boost your immune system. I got Shawn McAnalley on here too. And I want Shawn to share a little bit of background, not necessarily about him, but about his dad. I've been using these products for over 3 years now. I've been seeing some amazing results. But not only that, I have a lot of people that's actually on our team and a lot of my family using these products, and they're seeing amazing results too. So Shawn, could you just tell them a little bit of background about your dad and what makes these products so different from anything else out on the marketplace? And remember, guys, if you want these products, you can message Dr. Dan, message Shawn, or message me. And also, if you want a copy of one of Lisa free books, Getting Stronger Every Day, shoot me a message and I get you a copy of that book. It talks about these products too. So tell them a little bit about your dad, Shawn, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I will. But Troy, if it's okay, first, I'd like to say something about what Dr. Dan said that I thought was really neat. Is that okay?
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. One thing he said that was, it's just fabulous. It's a thought that crossed my mind. He said side effects to these plants, and the side effects were all positive. And I can't think of any medicine out there that doesn't cause itchy, watery eyes, diarrhea, some kind of eye seepage, runny nose, or something crazy, your hair fall out. But all the side effects Dr. Dan talked about were positive. Like eating these plants, not only is it going to help defend us against those viruses, but it helps our bodies to heal themselves, possibly from some of these other diseases. So that's fabulous, Dr. Dan. Thank you for sharing that so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Man.
But going ahead what Troy said, yeah, these products he's talking about are from my dad, if you will, Dr. Bill. But he started late 70s, early 80s researching things. And he started with aloe vera. And during all that research, he found out the way to, if you will, take he actually first found the active ingredient in aloe vera, which was phenomenal. Found out what really, really helped the body to do what it was designed to do. But on top of that, he figured out a way to take that aloe and preserve it to be in great shape for a long time to come. And it was a freeze drying process, so that when it was extracted from the inner leaf of the aloe plant, if you will, that it was preserved and kept whole and just last on and on and on. So he figured out that process, and that really helped make all of these aloe products possible today that you see anywhere. And that's really a phenomenal thing. I'm very proud of him for that, and proud to know him for that. And Dr. Dan has been part of that this whole time too. He started following some of the things Dr. Bill did back in the 90s. And has continued on and continues to work with Dr. Bill, spreading this message along with Troy McKnight here. But Dr. Bill continued forward, and some of these plants that Dr. Dan's talking about, collaboratively, they work together and they find all this research and find how well it really supports the body to do what it was designed to do, so that it can heal itself, so that we can live a healthy life. And there are things out there that we can eat that we don't get here in America, that have been put together by some of these people that we've been talking about here in a manner to where we know they're pure. We know that's what they say they are. And that's what we're trying to share with you guys, a way to make your body have the best defense it can to protect itself. And I could go on and on. I don't want to take any more, but just Dr. Bill's a researcher. He's never stopped. He continues researching. I promise you, he's over there at his house doing it right now. And he's continuing to find these plants that have really helped people throughout the ages to live the best lives they possibly can. And that's just what we wanted to share with you guys today. Troy, back to you, brother.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. And I really appreciate you and Dr. Dan both for being on this. We just want to get the message out that we really truly do got a powerful product, a combination of all these different herbs and plants that Dr. Dan was talking about. Dr. McAnalley actually had got a product line. And if you guys want information about that, just reach out to me. Like I said, you can message me, you can message Dr. Dan or message Shawn, and we most definitely will get you guys some information about that. We don't want to take a lot of you guys' time. We want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in to this live today. I ain't even talked to him, but I'm calling him out. I'm pretty sure he's on here. Me and Shawn will be doing probably another one next week or the next week or so with Dr. Rollins. But with that, guys, we just want to bring some information out to really help some people because we really believe truly we got something that can help a lot of people. With that, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in. Thanks again, Shawn. Thanks, Dr. Dan. You guys have a great evening.
Hey, you too, man. Thank you for having me.
All right. Shawn, you got to tell Dr. Dan we logging out.
All right, Dr. Dan, we're logging out, buddy.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.